from the original strand.
Talking Point, Friday 9:30 p.m. on CNA.
For exquisite living on the fringe of the city, Singapore Property Show presents coveted developments in the rest of Central Region. Exclusive addresses with amenities well within reach, yet away from the hustle and bustle of the city centre. Experience stunning 4D virtual tours of these properties and get expert advice on property investments at our webinars. It's all happening at sps2021.99.co. Register now. The Singapore Property Show 2021 is proudly organised by MediaCorp and our esteemed partners.
A new record for daily COVID-19 infections in Malaysia for a second straight day. The country logged almost 7,500 new infections, about 200 more cases than yesterday. Selangor remains the worst-hit state, accounting for a third of the national daily count. Some of the other badly affected places include Kuala Lumpur, Sarawak and Johor. Health officials are warning people to prepare for the worst, saying infections could trigger what's called a vertical surge. New COVID-19 infections have stayed above 6,000 for 7 straight days, and the tally might exceed 8,000 next month if residents don't follow virus protocols. Authorities have tightened curbs over the weekend, but stopped short of imposing a full lockdown.
Food delivery riders in Singapore are taking extra precautions on top of those imposed by their employers after 8 COVID-19 infections among their colleagues in less than a week. Gwyneth Tier with more.
When community cases started to surge and put Singapore on the path to heightened alert, one delivery rider decided it wasn't worth the risk.
Before the HA came out, right, the malls are so packed, sometimes, we just... I do not know how many times I go into the mall like in a 8 or 10-hour shift. At the start of the pandemic, I think I was down with a fever. I do not want to undergo such a situation again because, to be honest, it was quite scary. It wasn't nice. I was admitted. Luckily, it turned out that it was not positive. We do not know who the person is, where he stays, until we pick up the order. And sometimes we also deliver to places like dormitories.
Mr. Su is now learning to edit videos and receives an allowance from the government while picking up a new skill. But not all can afford to give up the work, and so they soldier on.
We have to gather to collect our orders, so it's a bit risky for us. But like as I said, it's a win-win situation. We don't know who's been infected and who's not. So we just hope for the best.
Major food delivery platforms have made contactless collection the default option or even mandatory. McDonald's and KFC leave packed food on segregated tables for riders. Deliveroo and Grab have reminded riders to space themselves out while they wait to collect food. Mr. Shamsun makes sure to sanitize his hands after every delivery.
Yes, it's a plastic bag, food, but we doesn't know. So just play safe.
Safety is not the only problem they face. Even finding a place to rest and eat amid the tighter restrictions is an issue. The labour movement has been working with community partners to address that. So far, it has identified 50 such places for the riders to do so.
We're looking at malls, with carved out areas. We're looking at food courts with carved out areas as well. And we're also looking at some other community areas such as void decks, as well as open areas within the CCs that our drivers and riders would be able to have their meals in peace. Before all these were set up, our drivers and riders were actually having no choice but to eat in toilets, for instance. That's very sad. Yeah, they were having to eat in car parks.
She adds that such efforts help lower the mental stress these delivery riders face in their job.
Hong Kong residents will soon be able to take a holiday at sea. The so-called cruises to nowhere are set to launch as early as July, but all passengers and crew will have to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19. Those physically unfit for vaccination must present medical proof. Testing for COVID-19 will also be compulsory. Cruises will also operate at half capacity. Now, in the event of any outbreak on board, the ship must immediately return.
Singapore's national football team is training in Dubai ahead of 3 World Cup qualifiers in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It's the first time those taking part in a team sport will be competing overseas since the pandemic started. 3 brothers are also in the squad, following in the footsteps of another famous family. Liang Lei reports.
18-year-old Yilhan Fandi is a regular starter this season for his club Young Lions. Having featured for Singapore's under-16s, he now has a chance to shine brighter after being called up to the national squad.
It means the world to me and my family, obviously, because when I was young, my dream was always to play for the national team, and here I am, hopefully going to get a chance to play. So I'm really happy. I'm going to give my 100%.
Also in the squad are his 2 elder brothers, Irfan and Iksan Fandi. The last time 3 brothers were called up to the national team at the same time was at Quas about half a century ago. Singapore currently sits 3rd in Group D of the AFC World Cup qualifiers. They face Palestine, Uzbekistan and Saudi Arabia over 9 days, all to be played in Riyadh, chosen as the centralised venue for the upcoming World Cup qualifiers. The national team's last training session in Singapore was in March. The squad is now in Dubai for centralised training. They will also face Afghanistan in a training match this Saturday before heading off to the Saudi capital. This outing in the midst of the pandemic means it's packed with precaution. Players and staff will be swabbed before flights and games, even though most of them have been vaccinated. The itinerary is kept to hotel, training ground and game day stadium.
I have to change my plan because the players' the condition is not consistent. I intend to tell them we just play. We don't need think any other things. We have to play with confidence, like same as before COVID.
The last time Singapore played an international game was in November 2019, where they beat Yemen 2-1, with Iksan among the goal scorers.
A rare celestial treat for stargazers across the Pacific Rim this evening, the combination of a super blood moon and a lunar eclipse. The phenomenon is called the super flower blood moon eclipse. Why a flower moon? Well, it's the name given to the full moon in the month of May, when spring flowers bloom in abundance. It also happens to be a total lunar eclipse. That's when the Earth passes in front of the sun, enveloping the moon in its shadow. Now, this time the event coincides with the supermoon phase, when the natural satellite is in the closest part of its orbit to Earth, making it appear bigger and brighter. During this eclipse, the moon appears bathed in a reddish glow from reflected light from Earth, and so the name Blood Moon. Skywatchers in Southeast Asia
Pacific Rim, I'll just pick up from you there, Dawn. The Western US, Australia and New Zealand were all able to glimpse tonight's super flower blood moon eclipse. So how rare is this celestial combo? Well, a total lunar eclipse only happens about every 2 years. But with a super blood moon, it's roughly a once-in-a-decade show. In fact, you can mark your calendars for the next one in 2033. And that brings us to a close here on Asia Tonight. Headlines anytime at cna.asia. You can also find us on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter as well.
We'll leave you now with more pictures of the super flower blood moon. Good night.
Look forward to brighter skies. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.